Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Okoyemi Goodies, and if you're new to this channel, you're very much welcome. Here I talk about my life in the UK as a nurse, as an immigrant. I talk about nursing, of course, because I'm a nurse, and basically everything fun. So if you like any of those things I've mentioned, please do what subscribe, like, and share. Okay, so today I'll be talking about driving in the UK as a new immigrant. So yes, I just got my UK driving license. Well, not like I just got it. I got it last month. So of course I'll go into the details later in the course of this video, and I would just take you guys through the steps that needs to be taken to get a UK driving license. However, I would also be mentioning the fact that you don't necessarily need a UK driving license to drive when you're new in the UK. So let's just get started. Okay, so the first thing that you should know is the fact that certain countries can actually swap their foreign license. So if you are from certain countries, you can actually just exchange your foreign driving license and then you'll be given the UK driving license. I know, right? But Nigeria is not, on that list of countries that can do that. So under that category, there are countries that they have this exchange agreement with the UK, and so that means that people that have driving license from those countries can literally just come into the UK and then apply to DVLA, and they can get the UK license. I mean, the full UK driving license. So certain countries like Zimbabwe, I mean, Nigeria should be part of the list, but anyways, so Zimbabwe, South Africa, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, a lot of countries like that are actually under that list. And so people from that country who have, a foreign driving license from those countries can actually just swap to the UK license, just like exchanging their foreign license, and they will be given the UK full driving license. So that's the first category on that category. Okay, the second, on that list or on that category is the fact that if you are from the EU, that's the European Union, if you have a driving license from the EU, you can actually do the same, exchange your license and get the UK driving license. So EU is also on that list. Anybody from the EU, or if you have a driving license from the EU, you can actually just swap the license just by applying. You apply to the DVLA and then you get the UK license. So you don't need to take any UK test, any driving test in the UK, whether theory or practical. You don't need any of that. Oh my god, I should be from EU. Okay, so the third category under this category is the fact that some people from some countries, I think about 3 countries or maybe islands, I really don't know if they're countries or islands, but people from these 3 places, if they have like a foreign driving license from these 3 places, can also exchange that license and get the UK license. So Jersey, Guernsey, and Isle of Man, something like that. I'll put that on the screen. So people from those countries or places can also exchange their licenses. So those are the 3 categories of people that can do the exchange arrangement. More like you have your foreign license and then you exchange the UK license. So if you do not belong to any of those 3 categories, I'm so sorry, then maybe you belong to my own category. So if you're from countries that do not belong to the exchange arrangement, that don't have the exchange agreement in place with the UK, you will probably have to do the normal UK theory test and then the UK practical test. However, if you have your foreign driving license, you can drive in the UK for the first 12 months after your arrival. So that 12 months start counting from the day you start residing in the UK. From the day you move into the UK, that 12 months starts counting. So for the first 12 months of your residence in the UK, you can use your international driving license to drive in the UK without any repercussion. So this is what I encourage people to do, especially people coming from from Africa, other places in Africa. Don't forget Zimbabwe and South Africa are exempted. They can swap their licenses. But if you're from other parts of Africa or from anywhere, actually, if you don't fall under the first three categories I mentioned, what you could do is to get your international driving license before leaving your country, because that way you can drive in the UK for the first 12 months. And I always encourage people to do this, especially people who have kids. I know how tedious it is to commute with kids, and not just people who have kids, people who also have a very busy schedule. It is very, very, it can be very, very daunting. So because of that, just get ready. So because I know people who come into the UK with their international driving license and they start driving immediately, because they have to drop off their kids in school. They have a very busy schedule and they can't do without driving. I know that the public transportation system in the UK is very amazing, trust me, but it is not flawless. It is amazing, it is good, but it's not flawless. There are times you have to wait for the bus for like 20 minutes, and that 20 minutes will be more than enough for you to get to your destination. So some people would rather drive, have their own car, because that would help them to be more productive, and then it will also save them a lot of time that they will waste at the bus station. That's actually one of the reasons why I had to quickly get going with my driving test and all of that, but I will still get back to that. So that's one thing. So for the first 12 months you can grab your international driver's license. However, please, it is mandatory for you to register for car insurance and then start paying your car insurance before you start driving in the UK. It is a legal requirement. So even if you want to drive for the first 12 months with your international driver's license, you want to make sure that that car is insured. It's a legal requirement, and if you drive without a car insurance, without an insurance in place, you might be prosecuted. So just note that, because I know that if I just say, oh, you can drive your international license for 12 months, people will just start driving on the road. No, you should make sure that you have your insurance in place. It's very essential. Okay, so for people who are like in my category, either because you don't even have any license, like international license, you don't have EU license, you don't have, you literally have no license, so you would have to start from the scratch from here, which is amazing, because I'll get to that if you're starting from the scratch, because you really don't have any bad habits anyways. It's more like you're starting from zero, and then you learn quickly. You even learn faster than people who have been driving for several years in their home country, because they've learned a lot of bad driving habits, so that's that. Anyway, so like if you're starting from zero, like you don't have any license at all, the only license you have is a practicing license like me, then I will go into details of what you have to do. Or you've actually driven in the UK for the first 12 months with your international driver's license, because after that 12 months, you are not, by law, you're not supposed to be driving with that license anymore. You're supposed to now start the process of getting your UK driver's license. So let's get to the process of getting the UK driver's license. So first thing you would have to do is the first step is to apply for the provisional license. So UK provisional license. So the only thing you need to get or to apply for this license is, of course, you need the money. It's £34, and you will need your resident permit, or your international passport, so either of the two or both. But for me, I only submitted my biometric resident permit. So with your BRP, you can actually just apply for your provisional license, and then you pay £34. You can do that online. It doesn't need to be in a paper form. However, even if you apply online, they will send you a letter and a form, and then you fill the form, attach your BRP, and then you send it back. In few days or few weeks, your provisional license and your BRP will be sent back to you. So when you have your provisional license, then you can start preparing for your theory test, or even before you apply for your provisional license, you can start preparing for your theory test. So the theory test is, I think, £23. Yeah, £23. So for the theory test, the app I used to prepare for mine is this 4-in-1 app. I will leave that somewhere on the screen for you. That was the only thing I used. That was the only app I used. I did not even have to buy any other book, because I know some people buy books like the Highway Code book and other books, but everything is actually embedded in this particular app, and I would always recommend this app for people. It's just £5, £4.99 actually. Let's just say £5, and it was really helpful for me. So while you're preparing for your theory tests, you can actually start your driving lessons. So Now, you don't necessarily have to take driving lessons for you to take the driving test. You can actually conduct your driving test in your car, but it's just easier. And if you're new in the UK, you probably don't even know the rules of the land yet. So I would just advise that you go for driving lessons, and then just so your instructor can put you through a lot of other things that you would not learn if you learn by yourself. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so what I did, so after my theory, another thing that people do, let me not miss that part. Some people start their driving lessons and then they take their theory test, because without the theory test you can't book the practical test. So some people waste so much money doing the lessons because maybe they failed the theory test and then they have to reapply again and then reapply again. I mean, if they keep failing, and then because they don't want to stop their driving lessons, they keep going for lessons, and then they just keep wasting money. So what I would always advise people to do is pass your theory test first before you even start driving lessons, because the moment you pass your driving theory test, it's actually more easier it is actually easier for you to understand the road signs, the safety mechanisms on the road, the speed limits, highway codes, and every other thing. It is actually easy because you've gone through the theory already. So by the time you start your driving lessons, what your instructor will be teaching you will be very limited. Not like very limited, but you would have known like 40% of what your instructor will be teaching you when you start your driving lessons. All you would have to do, or she would have to do, is just to teach you how to drive if you don't know how to drive, and of course some other things that you would not be able to learn on your own. So I always advise that do your theory test first, and then when you pass, then you can start your lessons. So in my own case, what I did was, when I passed my theory test, I booked my practical test immediately. Even before starting my lessons, I booked my practical test. And this is also because there's a backlog at the moment because of the pandemic. So because of the pandemic, they have loads of backlog of people waiting to take their test. So you might even book now and then get a test for 2022. Do you get? So that is why it is essential that you book immediately. So for me, the same day I passed my theory test was the same day I booked for my practical test. And I did that because I wouldn't want to stay for another year before taking my practical test, because I actually, because for instance, for me, I passed my theory test in this year, April, but I already booked like last year, September. But because of the pandemic and the lockdown, they kept canceling my test, postponing my test and all that. And so imagine, from like September last year, I had to take the test in April this year. So as soon as I passed, and I passed, on my first attempt. So as soon as I passed, that same day I just booked my practical test, and then I now started lessons. I had to look for an instructor, and then I started my lessons. Now for me, because I've not been driving from Nigeria, so I had to take more lessons. For people who have been driving for several years back home, well, this is also relative. I know people who have been driving for several years back home and they took more hours of lessons than I did. And I know people who have been driving for several years back home and they took maybe just 10 hours of lesson. They had just 10 hours of lesson and they passed, on the first attempt. But for me, I actually had 34 hours of lessons. I know I had 34 hours of lessons before I took my test. But don't forget, I already booked my test. So I just paced my lessons to reach that point where I would take my test. And for me, because I'm a very busy person, I was only doing 2 hours of lessons every week. So I had that for 4 months, and then I took my test and I passed once. Yes, I passed once with just 3 minors. So on the test, you're allowed to have 14 minor faults, no serious faults, and no dangerous faults. In my test, I had no dangerous faults, no serious faults, and out of the 14 minor faults that I could have, I had just 3 minor faults. So it was an amazing experience for me. So I would probably put a screenshot of the total amount I spent from start to finish, booking all the tests, all the apps I bought, and the amount I paid for all my lessons as well. So another thing is that driving lesson in the UK is very, very expensive. It is like a project on its own. So if you want to start the process, you have to be financially ready. I already knew that I was going to start my driving lessons, so I'd already saved. So please, sometimes, not even sometimes, a lot of times, you might spend up to £1,000 on this whole process. So you have to be financially ready for that. But as soon as you pass your test, your theory and your practical test, then you can buy a car. And then the good thing about the UK is the fact that you can buy a car on financing. So every month you pay a certain amount back every month. So it's very, very easy for you. It's not like so overwhelming or so cumbersome. You don't have to like pay everything up front. So that's that about that. And then you also pay for your car insurance. Another thing you should know, okay, so in the UK, there are some other things that you pay once you start driving. You pay for the road tax or vehicle tax, and you also do MOT every year. So MOT is yearly. Back home, I think we call MOT roadworthiness. I can still remember that back home they call MOT roadworthiness. You know, when is it FRSC people, they ask for roadworthiness. So this is what MOT2 is all about. It's like checking the health of your vehicle. Do you get more like that? So but it's done annually, so it's like an annual inspection of your car to be ensured that it is fit to run on the road, it is fit to be on the road. You do get, so it's more like a safety precaution, and it is compulsory. And if your car doesn't pass MOT, it shouldn't be on the road. It is a crime. So you pay for MOT every year, you pay for road tax, you pay for car insurance, and also for MOT. If you're driving a brand new car, you will not need MOT for the first 3 years. So after 3 years, that's when you need to do MOT every year annually. So that's that. I hope I've been able to enlighten you a bit about what it takes to drive in the UK as a new immigrant, and then to help you so that you can start saving, especially if you don't even have any license at all and you really, really need to start driving as soon as possible. So this would help you to start saving. Another thing I forgot to mention is for your practical driving test, before you can take it, you need to have stayed or lived in the UK for a minimum of 185 days. So let's just say 6 months. So before you can take the practical test. But don't forget, the process leading up to you taking your practical test would probably be up to 6 months anyways. You would still book your theory test, you would study and then take your theory test, take practical lessons as well, and then you take the practical test. So at the long run, it might be up to 6 months as well. Because for me, I took my theory test in April, I passed, and then I took my practical in September. So that's like 6 months, I think. So you should be fine in that regard. Okay, so if you've enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, click on the notification bell so you'd always be notified when I put up videos on my channel. And yeah, just show me some love, okay?